Really should have just started this at 12:30 in hindsight.
Not too late.
And we are live. Welcome to the first of two MLB Live Before Locks today. I am Josh Engleman. I am joined by Adam Scherer, and we are brought to you by PrizePicks. Finally back covering some baseball after a couple days off. It was nice to have an all-star break. It was nice to get together with the fellow Stokastic crew. Before we do anything, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. Adam, how goes it?
Pretty good. Yeah, it was fun being in Chicago. It was fun meeting up with everybody. Still kind of in the middle of a prolonged weekend. Haven't quite made it home yet, but yeah, having a good time.
It has been a fairly extended week for you.
Yeah.
You're coming up tomorrow. Tomorrow will be a week of you just being who knows where at most times.
Yeah, it's been a week.
D-Fix says he missed us. Do we miss chat? Some chat. Some of chat is good. Some of chat is less good. It's been Chicago is fun. Did y'all go to O Block? Not that I know of, but I don't know what that is either. Did we go to O Block?
I don't believe so, but I don't know what that
Neither do I. Neither do I. Am I planning to get shock or should I? Of course, my wife texts me the moment this show starts. The spot on text that I have to answer. So that'll be a good time. I'm tired, man. I am dehydrated in an aggressive manner. I'm ready to get back to normal in life. Unfortunately, I'll see you in a week and we'll have 2 straight days of doing it again. Ooh, yeah, good question from Chuck. Go ahead.
I was like, hopefully I've left DC by that point.
Chunk the Deuce with the good question. Did I get the tat? I did not, but not for lack of trying. We called multiple tattoo parlors that said no. So we tried to hunt that down. No luck.
Yeah. That who was making those calls? Nick and Jordan while we were golfing?
Yeah.
Hey, all I'm saying is you're coming to Texas, and I guarantee I can find a tattoo shop that'll do it.
Yeah, I don't know if that's what I should do in life. There's no rules in Texas, so I assume that there's no like standards and practices either. Then just like there's a guy with a sewing needle and a Bic pen.
I don't
need a prison tat in my lip.
I've done a lot of dumb things at live finals where I look back and I'm like, yeah, you wasted a lot of time doing this. You probably shouldn't have done that. Sitting in a tattoo parlor with you getting a lip tattoo instead of working on MMA would be at the top of that list.
That's fair. That's fair. Oh man, 3 games today. It would be a lot better if there were like 2 more. Do you approach 3-game slates differently? Like, does anything change for you in regards to your construction?
I mean, not directly. Like, obviously, I'm going to get heavier exposures to individual players than I would on a larger slate. But nothing like I don't do anything differently. Like, again, my exposures will look different. I'm going to naturally play leverage more because of the way it worked out. Like on a 3-game slate, if you have a really popular pitcher, then by default, the team he's facing is not going to be popular. And so that's very likely to be a team that I get to just because they're not popular. Whereas on a bigger slate, frequently it's just like, well, I'm not going to play that team. I don't care how popular the pitcher is kind of thing. And then also, I think the obvious is mixing in batters against pitchers is fine.
How many are you willing to go to?
So I typically will allow up to 3, but I also, when I crunch, use the thing that makes it so if you have the pitcher, it decreases the hitter's projection.
Got it. Makes it a little bit better then.
Yeah, so I don't get too many of those.
Alrighty. Well, we're going to take our time through this as best as we can. Last I looked, we have the lineups for the Astros, Yankees, Marlins, Rangers. We do not have anything for Oakland and Detroit. Whether we get that before lock is who knows. My assumption is yes, but I also don't really care. These games don't have great lines. They don't. No, it's just 4 pitchers look exactly the same. 3 of the stacks look to me almost exactly the same. Jesus, here we go. You got Jake, you're on a day where I got a lot of time to just take a steaming dump on the chat. And if you need to make 500 lineups generated by supercomputer algorithms, you're not good at DFS. I hope that's just a troll statement. I'm happy to rip it apart. I got a lot.
What if you make 1,500?
That's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah, we're going to have, we have over an hour still at this point in time. We got plenty of time to take out the dumb stuff. For real, though, hit the like button, everybody. Let's get that number over 100. Let's start talking about this slate. We are going to have an exceptional amount of time to take questions. So if you have legitimate questions about the slate that aren't just 1v1s, hit us with it because we're going to need to fill some time. You ready?
Sure.
All right, here we go.
I just got logged out from the site, so I'm ready, but I'll probably be slow answering your first question.
Well, surely you'll be slow. Astros and Yankees. 4.1 run implied total for the Astros, 3.9 for the Yankees. Christian Javier going for Houston. Jordan Montgomery going for New York. Javier, 9,500, most expensive pitcher on today's slate by $900. Jordan Montgomery is 7,600. Javier pulling 35% ownership. Montgomery around 13. And my biggest issue so far is that I feel like every pitcher is basically owned appropriately. I agree with the Javier exposure. I agree with the Montgomery exposure. Tough spot, obviously, on both sides of this one, or at least generally tough. It could have been a bit tougher. Let's start with Javier. How do you feel about him as the highest dollar pitcher today?
I think it makes sense just in the sense that it's a 3-game slate. The only thing that I would argue, the pitching in the Miami game is pretty inexpensive and also good. So, you could certainly make a case for getting to them instead of Javier against the Yankees. But outside of that, I think it makes sense that he's where he is at 9,500. He has the highest strikeout percentage on the slate at 34%. He's been really good at striking out right-handed hitters in particular, a 44.1% strikeout percentage this year against righties. You have a Yankees lineup that it has 5 left-handed hitters, but when you think about the really good hitters in this lineup, obviously Rizzo's left-handed. Matt Carpenter may be the best hitter in baseball, I guess now, but assuming he's not actually good, you're talking Judge, LeMahieu, Torres, all from the right side. So that's a little bit of an advantage for Javier. I guess you could argue, should he really be more expensive than John Gray, given that he's facing the Yankees? But I don't have any issue with his price in particular.
Okay. Yeah, I've got Javier, Gray, Pablo Lopez, all really, really close to each other from a projection standpoint. Obviously, bigger gaps in salary than I have for projection. And then Skubal at 7,100 is just, to me, not priced correctly for what he's got going on today. But we will certainly get into that. Just like a generic question for you. In theory, you'll probably have every pitcher. Would that be like a fair statement? Like,
on this slate, most likely.
Yeah.
There's no just absolute, there's no pitcher I can't make a case for. There's 5 actually solid pitchers in Montgomery, Javier, Gray, Lopez, and Skubal. Skubal obviously bumped by the matchup against Oakland as well. And then Zach Logue isn't particularly good, but he's facing the Tigers and he's $5,700. So, we have our lowest pitcher projection right now is Logue at 12.5 points at 5,700. There's no pitcher that I expect to just not get to at all.
Right. Okay. Just making sure we're on the same page there, that on a slate like today, literally everybody that plays is in play, barring the starting pitcher being a 4K only going 1 inning type guy. There's a mechanism to get to everything. There's a path where that person is just simply in the optimal by default. That shit can happen. What about Montgomery on the opposite side? 7,600 here. So big time discount. I'm a little surprised he doesn't grade out better for me, but I guess it's just the fact that this Astros lineup that I see does not strike out.
Yeah, and Montgomery's strikeouts are down this year as well. We've talked about him a lot in previous starts where he's still getting swings and misses, but his pitch types have changed. It seems like he's looking to get more ground balls, looking to walk less guys, pitching to contact a little bit more. So as a result, you only have that 19.5% strikeout percentage for Montgomery, and then you have this Astros lineup that is just extremely difficult to strike out. So he's not getting as much ownership as he probably should. Like looking at the top pitchers tool, 25% chance of being a top 2 pitcher, 13% projected ownership, going under owned, but also a really difficult matchup. And like the difference between him and Javier, obviously Javier has a difficult matchup as well, but Javier's strikeout stuff is just so much better, independent of matchup.
Does ownership make sense to you? Or I guess you were just saying that it might be like a little light. Are you surprised to see Montgomery be less owned than Zach Loke?
Not really, because I assume there's going to be lineups where like you want to get to the Yankees and the Astros or something like that, and Loke's just going to be more appealing.
Okay. Yeah, this is one of those days where I'm not entirely sure how much that extra salary is going to matter, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. I know we'll probably get questions like this. Obviously, you can roster both sides of a game from a pitching perspective. It's worse to do on a slate like this, but also you can't really help it for the most part. So I assume you have no problem having Javier and Montgomery.
Yeah, no issue whatsoever there.
Okay. Well, then let's talk bats. This is going to be a game where we're obviously getting a lot of everything, pitching, hitting. You just kind of don't have a choice when the two stacks are good. So let's start on the Houston side. This is the highest exposed team for the public, number 1 in ownership. They are second in our top stack tool, 4th in our stack score. Pretty flat ownership, honestly. Just a lot of guys around 25%. It starts to trickle off from there. How are you feeling about Houston? Are you agreeing? Do you see them as over-owned right now?
Not too bad. I mean, we have them with a 21% top stack percentage, 24% ownership percentage. It makes sense to me. Again, I think Montgomery's a solid pitcher, but the slate just has good pitching, and the weakest pitcher is facing the Tigers. So, and the Tigers are also getting plenty of ownership. So it makes sense to me. Against right-handed hitters this year, Montgomery only has a 17% strikeout percentage. 144 expected ISO is fine, but it's not like, it's not like he's not allowing any power at all. And you have Altuve, Pena, Bregman, Diaz, Gurriel, all from the right side. Kyle Tucker hits everybody well. It is worth noting that Montgomery has struck out 31% of lefties this year. So obviously a difficult matchup for Tucker, but still just a really, really good hitter. So it makes sense to me that they're getting the ownership that they are.
Do you look at stacking differently on a day like today? Are you more... Or do you prefer to get to like that full 5-man? Is a day like today where like a 3-3-2 is a crunch that you're running more frequently? Anything like that?
You can. I've kind of gone back and forth on that. I still typically just lean towards playing the normal stacks that I would otherwise. But I think as the slate gets shorter, you certainly can make more of a case for 3-3-2 or 4-2-2 or whatever you want to do.
Okay. We're gonna have to be a little bit more granular today, so that's not going to be fun. Which Astros bat stands out most to you from a either like let's just say from like a leverage point of view? Do you see any of these bats that look like aggressively over-owned or under-owned?
Not really.
Yeah.
I mean, Gurriel at 12% seems pretty appealing, but obviously he doesn't give you the same sort of power that somebody like Bregman does. So I understand why the ownership's where it is.
Yeah. Yeah, they look like they're spot on it. Like all of those like mid 25% ish type guys, that's like exactly where they came out of everything that I ran. Actually, let me pull that crunch back up and let me see how much Astros I had. So I ran a dummy crunch before any of the lineups were finalized, but I ran it like it was going to get entered in the mini max. So I actually had my legitimate exposures ready to go. And we could talk about how I'm just jamming Tarik Skubal later, but the Astros and Yankees are 2 of the top 3 in like overall exposure. I had a bit more of the Yankees than I had of the Astros, but I basically drew a line in the sand. I had a ton of Tigers, Astros, and Yankees, and not a ton of those other 3 teams. So Houston appears to be a team that I'm going to get to pretty heavily.
I think my internet's getting choppy. I kind of caught what you said. I heard you say you're jamming Skubal, and then
Yes.
You kind of cut out.
Okay. I was just saying that I basically was getting to 3 main, like I was getting into the Tigers, the Yankees, and the Astros pretty aggressively. very light on Rangers, Marlins, and A's. And, we'll get to that eventually, but I don't have much else to say other than I'm going to have a lot of the Astros. Still have, how many days are in July? 31 days in July. So I got 10 more days of not stacking, but on a day like today, it just becomes stacking.
Right.
I have like a bunch of 4-man Astros stacks. I got a bunch of 5-man Yankee stacks, easily do 23 3-man Astros stacks. So I'll at least look stacked up by default. It's hard to not be stacked on a 3-gamer. Do any of the Astros pieces look bad to you?
I don't really think so. Like, they all, in one way or another, offer something. Obviously Altuve, Tucker, Pena, Bregman, those are the guys that you're like excited to get to, and they're getting the most ownership because they're the best. But then when you look at some of these other guys, like if you just think about the name, it's like, Dubon getting 21% or Corey Lee getting 15% seems kind of a lot, but Corey Lee's 2,800, Mauricio Dubon's 3,300. So when you consider how expensive guys like Bregman and Altuve are, those are the players that are helping you balance it out. So I think that they all offer something, basically.
Dubon also, shortstop outfield MPE is certainly going to be helpful on a day where you need to really stretch it out.
Agreed.
Do you like the Yankees more or less than the Astros? They are second and third, respectively, in our top stack tool, only separated by about 2 percentage points, which on a day like today, to me, is nothing. So they are pulling a little bit less ownership. Would you rather have the Yankees or the Astros?
Yeah, I think they're pretty similar. I like the Astros lineup a little bit more, but then at the same time, you also get the leverage against Javier, which is nice. When Montgomery's getting 13% ownership or whatever it was compared to Javier's 40%, that does make the Yankees look a little bit more appealing. So really, for me, I think they're pretty close in terms of how I view them.
Yeah, like when I started looking at it, I have the Yankees slightly ahead of the Astros. You get the benefit of lesser ownership. You get the benefit of Christian Javier's ownership. But at the same time, like I'm actually asking this question, not from a DFS perspective. Montgomery and Javier are not all that dissimilar as talented pitchers, correct?
Talent,
like the gap isn't massive, right?
No.
Javier slightly
in terms of just ability to prevent runs from scoring.
Yeah,
similar.
Okay. Obviously, like Javier, big time DFS stuff.
Right.
The strikeout stuff is going to change the game a little bit.
They get it done in very different ways, but
yeah.
I mean, 3.62 xFIP for Javier this year, 3.66 for Montgomery, 1.15 home runs per 9 for Montgomery, 1.07 for Javier. It's 34% strikeouts for Javier compared to 20% for Montgomery, 10% walk percentage for Javier compared to 4.5% for Montgomery. They're different, but pretty similar as far as actual pitching goes, I think.
And I think that's why I have a little bit bigger of a lean towards the Yankees. I think you could probably say the lineups are close. I think there's more power in the Yankees lineup. From a value perspective, they're both sort of the same pricing, but you get 35% ownership on Javier, and you don't have that same sort of option on the opposite side. So let's talk through the Yankees. We get Aaron Judge up to 32%, but the bottom of this lineup, not pulling all that much ownership. I mean, some of these guys like Trevino and Gonzalez probably shouldn't. I think the Yankees look really good here. They were my second most exposed team when I ran my crunch.
Yeah, I mean, Javier's done a good job limiting power this year as well. I did mention the really high strikeout percentage at 44% to righties. It's only 27.7% against lefties. That's obviously still really good, but a 125 expected ISO to lefties, 126 to righties. So you're not talking about somebody that's like exploitable in terms of expected power, but I'm with you. I think the Yankees look good here. Matt Carpenter obviously has been really, really good. He's also become really, really expensive, but it's a 3-game slate, so it is what it is. Rizzo at 5,600, I think, looks good. Judge always looks good. I'm interested in $2,800 Joey Gallo. Obviously, he has not been very good this year. He strikes out a ton, but he still has a 256 expected ISO against right-handed pitching this season. Striking out 33.2% of the time, but at relatively low ownership, I do like the power upside he gives you at that price tag.
It is crazy to me that Joey Gallo is like the 9-hole hitter for the Yankees and has been just absolute an atrocity. How bad is it? I haven't looked in a while.
Like his actual numbers, you mean?
Yeah, I'm already there. So, do you have a guess what his WRC plus is this
I
year?
just pulled it up to look.
Okay, never mind. 85. One. Oh my God, three. I didn't realize that he had 3 straight years of sub 200 hitting either. I know it's bad, but I didn't realize it was that bad.
Yeah.
What is he? What does the rest of Joey Gallo look like?
Like his career,
Yeah.
he gets better as soon as they ban the shift. No, I mean really.
Free agent at the end of this season?
2023, unless there's an opt out.
Right. Yeah, that's like, if you were a free agent right now, what kind of contract does he get? Does he make like a stupid amount of money?
Are they banning?
I mean, he's obviously not making like Juan Soto money.
I don't remember what the latest is on the shift. Like, when do they ban it?
I don't know.
But
Joey Gallo is Adam Dunn 2.0 is such a really ridiculously bad take.
why?
Because Adam Dunn was good.
I mean, Joey Gallo is good also outside of this.
I think we're greatly forgetting how good Adam Dunn's numbers were in comparison to Joey Gallo.
That's possible.
Adam Dunn's first 10 years were all 100 plus WRC plus ranges.
Adam Dunn's career WRC plus was 123. Gallo's at 111.
Okay, so that first and foremost, that's gigantic.
But you also
Gallo is basically given up over these past 3 years. Let's not.
But you also have to
forget
keep in mind, Adam Dunn wasn't hitting into 8 dudes on the right side of the field.
I mean, sure, I guess.
Joey Gallo has a 260 career BABIP. This year he's at 227. The year before 246. The year before that 240. But I mean, the 227 is what really stands out.
I mean, I'm also looking at like what has happened for these past 3 years, I guess is the bigger question. Because we're talking about someone like Joey Gallo or like Adam Dunn, who shift or no shift was still putting up like 280 ISOs. Like he didn't break the way that Gallo seems to be fully broken.
Valid point too that Gallo is better defensively than Dunn.
Fair. But we're talking about a guy with a 340 slugging right now, like shift or no shift. This is a guy with 2 sluggings under 400 in the past 3 years.
Yeah, but you're still like they don't just shift the infield on him. They're putting like the entire outfield in the same spot that he hits it to when it's not a home run. Like I think he's one of the most negatively impacted players by the shift.
I don't disagree with that statement, but I think we are greatly, greatly underestimating how good Adam Dunn was for a decade.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I just think Joey Gallo is better than you do also.
Well, that at this point, I just don't know what to think because for 3 years, he's been if you add it all together. I don't know. I was a huge Adam Dunn guy.
Yeah.
Big time Adam Dunn guy.
Yeah, I mean, I liked Adam Dunn a lot. I thought he was good, but and yeah, definitely a valid point that Joey Gallo, well, he's been bad this year defensively, at least according to Fangraphs metrics, but obviously a better defender than Dunn.
Yeah, without a question.
He defends, period.
Yes, as in that he can.
Yeah, they allow him to have a glove.
Okay, so 17% home runs per fly ball 3 years ago, 27 last year, 17 again this year. Dunn pretty much always, it was basically just 20% or higher forever. That's interesting to me.
Somebody said Dunn cratered very quickly. That is not particularly true.
I mean, if Dunn cratered quickly, then what is Gallo doing right now?
Dunn had one season in his career where he was below average offensively, and that was 2011. He played till 2014.
Very interesting. Yeah, the home run for a fly ball one is one that I care about because obviously that has essentially nothing to do with a shift.
Right.
Shift whatever. It's got to end in the cheap seats. All right. Yankees bats. Anybody look dramatically over or under owned to you? I think we just killed enough time that like we're going to be able to move through the rest of the show at a normal pace. Thank you chat for just saying anything because we needed it.
I mean, I mentioned Gallo being, I think, under owned at 11%. You can make the same sort of case for Hicks at 3,200 at 12% ownership.
Yeah, that's fair. Marwin Gonzalez is the guy that pops the most for me, but I can't like really say, hey, this $2,500 shitty hitter is the guy that should be the linchpin to the Yankees offense today. When push comes to shove, do you have any sort of vibe on which of these teams you're going to have more of, or do you just anticipate having them both?
I anticipate having them both. Hopefully by the end of the show, I'll know the answer to which one I have more of.
Sure.
That would be good.
Anything else here? Yankees or Astros?
Nope.
All righty. Where'd my run sheet go? The hell do I have us set up to do now? Ooh, schedule for the rest of the day. This one's easy for me to do. So we got a show coming up after Adam and I. So we will finish up at around 1:10 Eastern time. At 1:30, the MMA strategy show will kick off. We've got another UFC card coming up this Saturday. And then tonight at 6 p.m., we've got another MLB Live Before Lock to close out tonight, the rest of tonight. I think it's a 2-gamer. So good luck to Greg and Eric on that one. And then free content for today. MLB player projections are free. So if you want to follow along with us from a projection standpoint, head to stokastic.com. You could look at exactly what we're looking at. And you guys, the 475 of you that are here can hit that thumbs up if you want. Well, going from Astros, Yankee.
Wait,
go ahead.
So I haven't looked. I was about to pull it up now, but this isn't close, right? Jim Thome versus Adam Dunn.
It's got to be Thome by a mile, right?
I mean, that's my assumption.
And I say that as someone that
didn't
like a team of his for a bit.
145 WRC plus in Thome's career.
Yeah, I mean, for like a 10-year stretch when he was in Cleveland, he was like one of the best hitters in baseball.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think it was close.
I didn't think it was either. Career 278 ISO.
Yeah. Probably hung on a little bit longer than he should have, but at the same time, he was still hitting all the way to he closed. Or
yeah, I mean, he basically closed
like
out. He closed out his career similarly to Dunn, I think.
Yeah. Jim Thome looks like my dad or one of my buddy's dads. So it was always
I feel like everybody probably has a friend who their dad looks like Jim Thome. He just like looks like that guy.
That's fair. God,
Thome's a borderline Hall of Famer. Jim Thome's a legit. There's no doubt about it.
Unless we're just basing this on the fact that like nobody from 1990 to 2012 can get in if they were hitters.
Well, yeah, sure.
But yeah, I mean, 270, 400, 550 slash line, 70 wins above replacement.
600
World Series ring somewhere in there at least. Dude, some of these lines. And then it's so weird. It's so weird to look at these stats being like, yo, dude, Jim Thome, 300, 440, 670, the 7-win season, just incredible. And it's just like, it's like Mike Trout's worst year. So crazy.
Ridiculous walk rates.
Yeah. Oh my God. He got on like it was nothing. And am I right? Yeah. Like not intentional either. Most intentional walks he had in the season was 26.
Oh, wow.
I was going to say, like, I was pretty sure that he didn't, like, he was just good. Anyway, Marlins and Rangers, slightly different offenses in this one in comparison to the game that we talked about before. I've got this at 3.3 runs on both sides, coin flip game. Blech. Pablo Lopez going for Miami, John Gray going for Texas. We'll start on actually, it doesn't matter which side we start on. Pablo Lopez is 45% owned. John Gray is essentially 45% owned. One of them 7,700, the other's 8,600. Which pitcher do you like more here?
So I got in the dummy crunch I just ran, I got 44% Lopez, 42% Gray. So seemed pretty in line with the field.
Yeah, I ended up a little bit higher on Lopez and a little bit lighter on Gray when I ran my real crunch, which makes sense to me. You know, I think they're basically the same guy, and I got more of the guy that's $900 cheaper. So
yeah,
like if they're the same ownership, that's exactly how that should work. So at the very least, that makes sense to me. Let's talk about it though. I would say the Marlins lineup is a little bit better. I'd say they're probably comparable strikeout matchups. I think they go similar in depth to this game. To me, it's just going to be a little bit easier to get to Lopez because he's cheaper. I don't really have like a deciding factor between the two. Is there something that would make Gray stand out a little bit more?
Oh, so I was going to say also Corey Seager not in the lineup for Texas is good for Lopez.
Yes,
Um,
agreed.
but yeah, no, I mean, I think they're pretty similar. Like you look at their numbers this year, 24.3% strikeout percentage for Lopez, 3.55 xFIP. Gray's at 27.3%, 3.24 xFIP. He's also a little bit more expensive, as he should be based on those numbers. Again, with Seager being out, I think it does make the Rangers lineup look a little bit weaker for Lopez than the Marlins lineup for Gray. I agree with you there.
I have the Rangers aggregate WRC plus here at 100, which is about the ass end of it. Normally. On a day like today, however, that's third from the bottom because the Tigers and A's are both worse than that somehow.
Right.
It's incredible. It's really gross offense today on a day where we have like a lot of pretty good pitching. When you see these two guys being chalked, does that change anything in your mind? I mean, they're basically 45% of all the pitching exposure today. Does any part of that stand out? Do you like see any bit of that as I just naturally want to be lighter because they're in the 40s?
No, I mean, I think it might naturally happen just in the sense that it's gonna push down ownership on Texas and Miami, and neither of those offenses, like you were saying, when you have Oakland and Detroit on the slate, and Detroit is also pulling ownership, there's gonna be some interest in just getting to Miami and Texas because it's a 6-game slate and they're not bad offensively. So that maybe naturally brings it in a little bit lower. But like I was saying, I just got to around 40-something% on both of them.
Okay. Yeah, this is such a weird one because you're either saying I'm taking a giant stand on one of the pitchers that are 40% owned, or I'm well over the field on Jordan Montgomery or Zach Logue. Like there's only two paths to this, or you're just playing the field's exposures today. I know that I'm taking a giant stand on Skubal. I know I'm not going to be able to get away from that at 7,100 today.
I think there's a good chance I'd do that as well.
Okay. Well, that makes me feel good and I assume that we're just going to get wrecked now that you and I are on the same page. All right. I guess let's talk Marlins bats first. They are fourth in ownership. The Rangers are last. That's only separated by 1.5%. That is not a separation on a day like today. We had the Marlins fifth in top stack. We had the Rangers fourth, but again, like a 1.5% in either direction. So on the Miami side, Joey Wendell is 21% owned in the leadoff spot. Everybody else is basically 10. How does this Marlins lineup look to you against John Gray?
Not great. I mean, the park's not good for hitting. Gray's a good pitcher in general. So I don't really like the lineup. I think it's more so, again, they're getting 12% aggregate ownership. So you're talking like half the ownership of Houston, like 60% the ownership of the Yankees or the Tigers. So that's where the appeal is for me, where there's basically 3 teams getting the bulk of the ownership in Detroit, Houston, and the Yankees, and then 3 teams that aren't in Texas, Miami, and Oakland. Clearly, Miami and Texas are more talented than Oakland.
I don't know if it's clearly, but they are. Texas stinks.
Yeah,
they're really, really bad.
But they're not Oakland.
Yeah, Oakland is the worst. That's for sure. I actually have Texas as slightly better than Detroit, but neither here nor there. We're talking about 1%, 1 point here. That's not a separation at all. I mean, to me, Miami is pretty clearly under-owned to a degree, not in a way that like I find to be incredibly actionable, but all these guys that are like 7 or 8%, I think should be 10 or 11. I just don't know how much that's going to matter. Do you see this as a likely stance for you to be just wildly light on one of the pitchers? Or is this the spot where you kind of just double up on one of these offenses?
I think there's a pretty good chance I kind of end up coming in around the field on all of it.
Yeah. That's for the most part, that's where I was. I did have this was my 5th and 6th team in exposure. I was basically neutral on the Rangers, a little bit heavier on the top of the lineup. And then the Marlins was the first, I'm not getting, I got to oddly enough, the same amount of Wendell. And then it's this garbage at the bottom that I just can't really justify. Does Texas look better to you? I mean, they do rank higher in our top stack tool.
I have them the same.
Okay. I had Texas by a hair, which honestly surprised me a little bit. I got separated by 0.02 of a point in ISO for the team. 160, 158. This is just it's like the shitty version of the first game.
Yeah,
like I
pretty
think
much.
both offenses in the first one are pretty similar. I think both offenses here are pretty similar, just a gap in talent in the aggregate. I think both pitching like the pitching matchup in Astros Yankees is good. It's just the way that it's good. In this one, it's two good pitchers, but they get to face shittier offenses. It's a really interesting balance for these 1:00 games because I really do think that all four pitchers and to a weird degree, all four offenses play a really big role today. There's no, it'd be this slate would be so much different if you just flip flop the Yankees and Rangers. Like if the road teams were in different spots and there were like bigger gaps, like the Astros would be a much bigger run scoring team. The Yankees would be projected to score so many more runs than the Rangers. It would change the scope of this slate dramatically if you didn't have it just be like the two same teams facing the two same teams.
Oh, okay, yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, this slate's weird to me too. It's just like there's not a lot that stands out to me where I'm like, oh, this is clearly where I would like to get to given what the field is giving me. Like so far it's just been like, yeah, that all makes sense. Like I don't think the field's making a mistake on Houston. I don't think they're making a mistake on the Yankees. The pitching in this game makes sense to me. I think the biggest spot, I think we're gonna end up with the same stand here. I think I'm gonna end up just jamming a ton of Tarik Skubal and probably being around the field in most other spots.
I had 97% on my crunch. So it sounds to me like you and I are going to be doing the same sort of stuff there.
I have him with the highest optimal percentage.
So do I. I have him as the highest projected pitcher.
I have a 1/10 of a point behind Lopez.
Okay. Yeah, I've got him ahead of Lopez. Either way, I mean, we're talking about the two highest projected pitchers being 7,700 and 7,100. So that's just going to be really good.
D-Fix said, is there anything more embarrassing than being too tired to play golf? Have you ever played golf? Like, that shit is tiring.
Dude, I was exhausted and all we did was go to a golf simulation.
To be fair, we were in a basement with no air conditioning.
That's fair. And I don't get the sense that Robert Gregarious' fatigue was caused by drinking as many White Claws as he could find.
Probably not.
Because they couldn't come fast enough. I mean, that was just to quench thirst too.
Right. Yeah. That was just trying to stop myself from sweating too much.
Yeah. I would have put I wish they could have just like had him on tap in that table in front of us. Because I just needed cold liquid. It was so hot. I don't know what the deal was for us. So we went to a golf simulator for hours on Tuesday afternoon.
A couple of
but they didn't have air conditioning. Yeah, twice actually. They didn't have air conditioning. So it was awful. So Josh Gillum said, I think it's like 90 degrees at the 3M. I think it was like 90 degrees in this golf simulator basement.
Yeah, they had like two fans, no air conditioning. So like the fans just blowing warm air mostly. Also, yeah. Jordan Klein's just standing in front of it and blocking it for most of the time.
Slate breaker. Of course, Josh drinks White Claws. Do you want to take this one for me?
Yeah, actually, Josh doesn't drink White Claws. I got him to drink them, but yeah, he's not a White Claw drinker.
No, and they're all over my house. We could bring my wife up here to let everybody know that had not been my thing. Not for any like I just don't really like seltzer water style drinks at all. Like I'm not a LaCroix guy or anything like that. But they were helpful at that moment.
And no, it wasn't Topgolf. It was 5-irons.
Yeah, which evidently is next door to you.
Yeah. So I had seen like whenever I look at like Google Maps near my apartment, like it has like the golf icon and says 5-irons golf, and I just assumed it was some like golf pro shop kind of place.
Right.
Yeah. No. Apparently, I can just go 4 blocks and use golf simulators now. So that's gonna be fun.
You should. I know you won't do this when I say it out loud, but most of these places that I've ever seen have leagues and stuff.
Yeah, I mean they also have like pros like that I can get lessons from. So
oh, nice.
Yeah, so instead of having to drive like 30-35 minutes out to the county to learn, like to either get instructions or just to go play, I can just go over there every afternoon if I want.
Is 5-irons even close to top? I mean,
it's totally different.
We're comparing two different things.
Like I can go to 5-irons and get better at golf. I'm not going to go to Topgolf and get better at golf.
Yeah.
I personally
anything
prefer. I personally would use 5-irons way more than I would use Topgolf.
I mean, I think you'd get more utility out of it, but like if I owned it, when you say use, like if you could just have a Topgolf in your yard, you would never play the simulator.
I'd rather have the simulator.
Really?
Well, I mean, I guess if it's in my yard, I can use my own clubs and everything at Topgolf. Like, I don't. To me, the games are similar, but the
Yeah.
simulator I think is actually a little bit cooler. The actual like golf aspect of it feels much more real on the simulator than Topgolf.
That's fair. It would be interesting if I was some like Richie Rich character though, and like it was just on my compound. I don't get the sense that I'm like hitting into a screen of a golf simulator, unless it's like VR where I'm out there and I feel like I'm playing like 17 on Augusta or something.
Right.
All right. Marlins, Rangers, anything else? We've done a good job, man. We've killed 42 minutes so far.
Yeah, and I'm
And I'm not entirely sure we talked about anything yet.
I'm actually getting lineups crunch, so I should actually have. We'll be able to circle back, I think, on what I'm going to end up at.
Yeah, I'm about to start running my crunch. I just need to get through this next read, and we are good to go. And that read is for the presenting sponsor of this show, repping the brand today because I wanted to wear something comfortable. PrizePicks. So if you guys use the promo code AWESEMO, AWESEMO, you sign up at PrizePicks, you will get up to a $100 deposit match bonus. So if you put in 50, they only match with 50, but if you put in 100, they will match with 100. You're trying to beat player props. You're trying to make parlay cards, essentially. So what you have to do is take over-unders. We're going to talk about a couple of those right now. For example, I'm going to hit you with all 6, maybe not 6. I'm going to hit you with most of the pitcher scores for today. Let's see where you stand. Christian Javier, over-under 33.5 fantasy points.
Forgot this was FanDuel.
Snap under.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you said the number, but I was like looking at my projections. What was it for Javier?
33.5.
Take the over.
I got him at 31.8, so I would take the under, but that's not one I would likely put on a card. Jordan Montgomery's does not exist, so we can go to the Marlins now. And we'll do Pablo Lopez 35.5.
Over.
See, I'm taking the under there too. John Gray, 35.5.
Over.
3v3, both sides of this one, unders across the board versus overs. I hope you guys get a lot out of that. That should be a really good time for you guys. What you really should do, you know what I'll give you? Here are the strikeout props, which I think are kind of interesting. Not something we tend to talk about, but Jordan Montgomery, 4. I'm just going to read them off. You tell me if anything stands out to you. Jordan Montgomery, 4. Christian Javier, 7. John Gray, 6.5.
Those are all in line with what I think they should be.
Yeah. I have Jordan Montgomery at 4. I think Javier feels a little high at 7. I think I would like if that were 6.5, I'd be like, ooh, okay. But at 7, I'd feel pretty comfortable about getting a push out of it at the least. Skubal's 6.
Over.
I have it at 6 as well. What did I have John Gray at? Gray's is at 6.5. I have 5.2. I might actually take the under on John Gray.
What was Gray's?
6.5.
Yeah, it seems right to me.
Okay. Guys, go sign up at PrizePicks. AWESEMO is the promo code, AWESEMO. Have you seen if we've gotten the A's or Tigers lineups?
We got the A's lineup.
Okay. Let me grab that quickly.
Goriano, Murphy, Pinder, Brown, Piscotti, Noisy, Machine, and Allen.
I was going to say, do that again, but I'm just going to grab it and paste it into my sheet and not have to hope that I hear you read it correctly. So all we're waiting on are the Tigers, right?
Yep.
Sky Bolt does not sound like the name of a person that's a real person.
Sounds like
a
I immediately think of A-Train every time I hear his name.
A-Train?
From The Boys.
Oh, haven't watched it.
Oh, you need to watch it.
Do I?
It's really good. And I think you're smart enough to actually understand it.
Yeah, Tyler, clip that.
It is a blatantly obvious show what it's about, but people still struggle with it. I think you can get it.
God damn it. What is this issue now? Why are they not showing? What are all these new numbers ruining everything for me? I got to manually override some nonsense for this A's lineup. Okay, so who's hitting 5th? Seth Brown? Yes. And then 8th is... Uh-oh. Am I still here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Just Excel froze for a little bit, and I thought it was me going away. Machine. I think
that would have been fun. We haven't run back the me trying to make lineups while my co-host disappears show, where I just sit and stare at the screen for a while.
Well, we're good now. I've got my data in. Let's talk about it. A's and Tigers. 3.3 run implied total for the A's, 4 for the Tigers. Zach Logue for Oakland, Tarik Skubal for Detroit. Skubal, 46% owned. Honestly, it felt like it was going to be a little bit higher than that at 7,100. He's got the best matchup on the slate against Oakland. You and I have already talked about it a little bit. I think that we're going to be going pretty heavy here. Talk about why.
Yeah, I mean, he's getting ownership, so it's not like it's some spot where the field is missing, but he's only 7,100, so either he's going to let you get whatever bats you want, or he's going to give you a path where you can at least be a little bit different, because most, or not, I don't even know if it's most, a lot of people, even on shorter slates, are just going to not, like, they're still going to set salary floors or care about salary. So, like, with Skubal at 7,100, either you can get really good bats, or you can give yourself a chance to be a little bit more contrarian by just, spending 47K instead of 50K or whatever, because he's underpriced in a very good matchup. 24.5% strikeout percentage this year, 3.28 xFIP, 6% walk percentage, facing an Oakland team that is absolute garbage. I just don't really know how you don't like Skubal at this price. Against right-handed hitters, a 25.9% strikeout percentage, 152 expected ISO, 297 expected WOBA this year. Predominantly right-handed heavy lineup. Only 2 lefties in it, in Brown and however you pronounce Machine or Machin or whatever his name is. Those are the only 2 lefties here. Skubal does have a lower strikeout percentage against lefties despite being left-handed, but doesn't matter here. Good park. I just don't have anything negative to say about Skubal.
Are you a little surprised to see his ownership not higher? Or is that just a reflection of the fact that you can get to whatever you want?
I think it's the latter.
Okay. Although at the same time, like, I'm surprised that it's not, because I also think that he's the best starting pitcher on the slate.
Sure,
and it
but
should just naturally
so my thing is, like, if you took ownership away from Christian Javier and gave it to Skubal, I would start to think Javier actively looks fantastic. And the same can be said for Lopez and Gray.
That's
like,
fair.
it's hard for me to say Skubal should be getting a lot more ownership when I think that those guys are getting what they deserve.
That's fair. Obi-Wan, we talked about it a little bit earlier today. No tattoo. We tried. We called a bunch of tattoo parlors in Chicago, and they all said no. And we didn't preface it with saying, like, by the way, we're wrecked, or we've been sitting around getting drunk all day.
Right. You might have been able to tell from Jordan's voice, but
that's true. They said no, that they don't do lip tattoos, which at least mildly concerns me. More often than not, I expect most people to want work.
I could see it just being not worth their time kind of thing, or it's a standard tattoo for idiots that they don't want to deal with their business.
Yeah, but, like, really? I mean, how could it not be? It's impossible for it to not be worth their time. Just make it worth your time.
Sure. Yeah.
Like, clearly they can just be like, look, it's going to be $150. At which point I'm going to be like, all right, well, then can we be there at noon? I would have gotten it done for any amount of money, just so I can get it done.
Right.
Like, I don't want it hanging over me any longer either. Trust me, guys. This, I guess, is probably one of the more interesting pieces here, because we don't know as much about him. But what do you want to do with Zach Logue today?
He kind of just looks. He's another pitcher that kind of just looks like the ownership is where I think it should be. 18% chance of being a top 2 pitcher, 18% ownership. He does, I guess, look a little bit better because Detroit's getting ownership as well, but not a particularly exciting pitcher to get to. I think clearly the worst pitcher on the slate in terms of talent. 26 years old, 6 starts, 7 total appearances for the A's this year, only striking out 17.4% of hitters. At AAA, 11 starts, 55 and 2/3 innings, 17.3% strikeout percentage. He's not supposed to be good. He hasn't been good. He isn't good, but he's also 5,700 and facing the Tigers. So he's just another one where I think the ownership is basically where it should be. This slate is just so weird. Like Jordan Montgomery is the only pitcher that I think is really going like under-owned.
Yeah.
But he's also just really difficult to get to because the price is at a weird point.
I don't know how to fix that either.
Right.
Like I expect to get 0 Logue, which I don't enjoy, but I also think like that's just going to happen.
It looks like I'm going to end up not getting Montgomery is my guess.
Okay.
Like I'm finishing up the lineups that I make in Cruncher before I decide which ones I'm going to play. And Jordan Montgomery's only showing up in like 4% of the ones I'm generating.
Okay. I mean, I know if I'm going to have Skubal in 95%, that means I've only got 100% left to go to the other 5 guys. And
right.
I can't imagine getting to Logue before I get to Javier, Gray, or Lopez. And even then, like at best, I'm splitting those guys 33 apiece. So I actually think I might not get Montgomery or Logue, which again doesn't make me feel great, but you can only if you try to take a stand, you've got to cut somebody somewhere. You're not allowed to have 280% of pitchers.
Right.
It'd be nice. Oh. All right, well then let's talk about the Tigers bats because this is sort of the sneaky most interesting spot of the slate. The Tigers are number 1 in our top stack tool, 2nd in ownership because they are the number 1 value team of the day. They are, for all intents and purposes, free across the board. How do you manage the Tigers on a day like today?
I probably don't get to a lot of them just because they're not very good. They are getting ownership. I'm willing to go to Skubal. I'm willing to go to Logue if I need to so I can get to these better offenses.
I have too much Tigers, which doesn't surprise me given there are no forced stacks. The implied run total is what's interesting to me, that it sort of puts them on the same playing field as the Astros and Yankees. Like, how much should talent matter at that point?
What do you mean?
Like, for the most part, the Astros, Yankees, and Tigers have the same implied run total today. Like, we can quibble over like how close it is, but at least my last look, it was close. Assuming they are close, how much should raw talent matter at that point in time? Like, how much do you think that extends a right tail? Do you know what I mean?
I think I'll say that's where it does matter. Like, you still just have a much better chance of a team like the Yankees or the Astros just going absolutely nuclear than you do the Tigers.
Yeah, I wonder. Like, I understand that's true. I wonder if that's just like in order of relativity. Like, I'm guessing it's not by a lot.
Right. Yeah, I guess I can agree with that.
I mean, if we just look at top stack tool, they're also all basically the same. Like, should the Tigers be pulling more ownership because they're the top stack and top value? Like, are they under-owned?
I don't really think so.
Okay. I'm starting to think that they are.
Like,
you know where I'm going with this, right?
Yeah. Given what I don't have them as the top stack is the thing.
That'll do it. That'll do it. It's a tricky slate because, like, obviously it's the Astros or the Yankees, but they're also facing like above average to great pitchers. Really scary. This is a fun slate. Oh man, things are gonna look really interesting. At first pitch of A's Tigers. So you're expecting to be light on Detroit.
Most likely. I'll have the answer in a second. I'm trying to clean up ownership projections.
I need to start moving a little bit faster too. Not saying that to you or like anything, just making a note that I am not moving as fast as I wish I were. All right. New crunch is in. Data is here. Set my cutoffs. Well, then I guess the opposite question to you then is, should we be more interested in the Oakland A's? They are dead last in our top stack tool and 5th in ownership. Is there any appeal here on the opposite side of Skubal?
I could see getting to some individual hitters, like taking a Sean Murphy against Skubal or a Chad Pinder against Skubal or something like that.
Okay. But in the grand scheme of things, probably not a team you're going to be getting to a lot. Just going to be too hard.
Yeah, most likely.
So I guess, so that's your question. If you're jamming Skubal, do you think you'll even have the ability to get to a lot of Oakland?
I think I can get to some individual hitters maybe, but most likely not.
Okay. Clearly, you're not going to be getting to like stacks.
Right.
If you have 97% Skubal, that's just
right.
Not
I could
up.
see, like one offing or two man, Laureano Pinder or Murphy Pinder or something like that against him.
Okay. All right. Well, I think I'm about to start running my crunch. Finally. One last change. Good. Boom. All right. Crunch is running. Ooh. Looks like Javier Baez is going to be a big part of my life today. That should be great.
That's always a good time.
Yeah. Can't wait. Well, hey, normally it's in a cash lineup against you, and he goes yard in the first. So.
Yeah, results in like 30 points.
Right. All right. Let's talk through a couple of these bats on either the Tigers or the A's while this crunch runs and while we have a couple extra minutes here. Sean Murphy and Laureano are the two chalk plays coming out of Oakland. They're about 20% owned. But then we go to the Oakland side or the Detroit side. Riley Green, Baez, Eric Haas, all 30% owned. Do you see any of these guys as like wildly over-owned or under-owned? Like what slows you down for Detroit other than their just sort of underlying talent?
Pretty much that. Like I think Riley Green, Javi Baez, Grossman, especially if he's hitting third, all look good. Eric Haas looks good. Scope is cheap. Like I'm with you as far as them being the best value stack. I just have Houston being the top actual stack, and then the Tigers and Yankees being about the same in terms of top stack percentage.
Okay. It's really rare to see that, even on a slate like this, the top stack and top value being the same team, at least in our top stack tool, but also not getting there the way that I would have expected from an ownership perspective. I thought it was going to be worse when I originally saw the ownership, just given where we had it. Because it'd be very easy for them to be in like the 30% aggregate mark right now if you're number one on both sides of the coin.
Sure. Yeah, I agree with that.
I assume they're just going to put out some sort of lineup that really drags. Wait, no, that's not the one we have yet. Yeah, we're gonna get beat on the Tigers somehow, and they're gonna run out a lot of garbage. I could see it coming. Is there anything else we could talk about here for Oakland or Detroit?
I don't really think so.
How far out are you on information that's going to be relevant?
Couple minutes. I'm just trying to match to fix ownership projections.
Gotcha. You're good. I'll hit on it. Guys, if you guys want to drop any questions or anything into chat, that'd be great. I'm going to be like basically out of my Excel sheet for a bit now while I'm running crunches until I can start running my sims and everything. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to drop them in. And if they could lean a little bit more towards, strategy or something, that would be great. Do you think playing Murphy and say Pinder on a team with Skubal has a chance to actually work today? Yes. Skubal pitches well, but when they get there, adding some bats from Houston and New York with it. Yeah. No. I mean, if you're trying to, you don't have to have lineups with people on the opposite side, but on a 3-game slate, there's nothing to stop anybody from hitting a 7th inning home run, and every home run on a 3-game slate is incredibly valuable.
Yeah. Or, I mean, it's just also easy to see how Skubal gives up 2 runs and, ends up being like the optimal pitcher, but they're just each, solo home runs or something.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. But I mean, we're talking about for the most part, we're going to see each one of these pitchers come out and then a different person throw a third of this game. Anything can happen in that regard. So I would not stress about it at all. Do I think Skubal gets 10 strikeouts today? No one should ever say yes.
Yeah. Think implies greater than 50% chance.
Yeah. Aaron Rosenberg said single entry stack. on a day like today, I know this sounds like, I don't even mean it the way that I'm saying it, but like, it does not matter to me because I think everything is about where it should be. I don't see any spot that is like clearly missing.
Yeah, I mean, the lineup that I currently have that I'd play in single entry is a 5-man Houston stack, but
Okay.
that's not like you said, it can be really any team, I think.
Like, do I think it would be Oakland? No, but I don't think that there's a team out there that's like, fourth in ownership or something, or like lower in ownership that we have as like a positive leverage stack that like you could just naturally get there. I just don't see that today.
By the way, I also ended up basically like no Montgomery and very, very little Logue.
Okay. I have a sneaky suspicion we're about to have the very similar pitching exposures.
I do have less Skubal than you.
Okay.
But he's still my highest owned pitcher, just like 75%.
Okay. All right. I got to close all of my workbooks now and run my quick sim. We have 8 minutes to go. I'm not even gonna be able to run this.
It looks like I'm getting over on Houston, over on the Yankees, under on the Tigers, under on Oakland, a little over on Texas, under on Miami, based on projected ownership.
Okay. Well, I'm going to click start here, and I'm going to cross my fingers that this finishes when I think it's going to. Yikes across the board for me right now. Here goes nothing. When I ran it before, it finished in 2 seconds or in 2 minutes. So as long as I can get there in 2 minutes, I'm going to be fine. It's definitely running at a slower. Oh yeah. I didn't know what else to do. I didn't have to go to the gym till 3. I got to do this show anyway.
Yeah.
Might as well jam in. This is going to be, I'm going to paste this shit in at it. Lock is 110, correct?
110, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I'll be fine, but man, it's going to get tight coming down the home stretch. But that's fine. Let's see what else, other questions we have. Lopez or Gray today. That's basically the same answer for me as the single entry stack, although my answer just defaults to Lopez because he's cheaper.
I have 63% Lopez, 39% Gray on DraftKings.
Let's see. DFIC, yes. Houston's in a doubleheader today. Let's see. Rather play some A's over Skubal. Arcathelza. Good luck with that. Good luck with that. What else coming in? If you got any more questions, drop them in. 440 people in here, 145 likes. Everything looking good. Thought you guys would have some more. Let's see. Dwayne says stud Yanks and cheap Astros, or stud Astros and cheap Yanks in a game stack on DK. Whatever shows up.
Yeah. I mean, I'm prioritizing the Astros more.
If I'm just game stacking that game, though, like I have no idea how those pieces can ultimately fit together. But with how close those offenses are, like I don't think that the top or bottom of either side really looks all that different.
Right.
So, get to a 4-4 or a 5-3 in either direction and just let it rip. Frank Castle says he hates John Gray.
Normally you do too.
I think I'm going to be light on him, so this should be fun.
Yeah.
It's so crazy because for so long I got so much John Gray because of Colorado. Tigers lineup is out per Sean B, but
nothing I can do with that.
I can do with that now. Yeah, I don't care. Certainly helps when you're not like naturally stacking when lineups come out and change, because it's just like, I'm just making a swap to nothing anyway. No correlation in that lineup to begin with.
Why do we? Oh, because now we have him.
Blitz, thanks for being here.
Josh H. Smith.
Oh, no Miggy in the lineup today. Tired from the derb. Love the strategy show, Josh. Is it coming back tomorrow? It is. It is. I mean, like, it didn't really leave today. It just, the slate is different. There's a 3-gamer and then a 2-gamer. So we had to do it like this. But yeah, strategy show back like normal tomorrow. That's never going anywhere. That is the piece of content for us. That's the starting point of everything. All right, here we go. Lineup's done. Probably should have ran more, but whatever. We're in 95% Skubal.
That's a lot, but I don't really have an issue with it.
Yeah. I'm not surprised by it, at least. Let's go ahead and actually sort this. And actually, have you uploaded your lineups yet?
Yeah, but I'm redoing it now because we got an ownership update.
Yeah. Uh-oh. Oh, no. Oh, what is happening? What is on my screen right now?
It's always a good feeling 4 minutes before lock.
I can get to what I need right now, but it's become like a kaleidoscope of colors.
At least your mouse is working.
Dude, don't say that yet. It's not fun yet. At least your mouse is working. Can't work until lineups are in. Okay, there we go. Now we're good. All right, so let's get these lineups in for the final. What do we got? 2 minutes, 30 seconds. There we go. Then we'll touch on exposures and get the hell out of here, and then I can fix my whatever guys aren't in a lineup for the Tigers.
Yeah, I need to do that with the A's too.
Okay, so that is saved. This feels like an old school live before lock for me, where I'm done even trying to steer the ship. It's like, hey, everything ends. I need to talk, or I need to put my lineups in. And we are uploaded. 150 good. Check the lineups page, all good. So now I could at least talk about what I've got. And the answer to that, what I've got, is
a lot of Tarik Skubal.
All of the Tarik Skubal. Heavy on Lopez. So 63% Lopez. 20% on Gray, 20% on Javier. I don't have Logue. I don't have Montgomery.
I think that's pretty much where I'm at. I'm putting my 150 max in now to see. Yeah, 73% Skubal, 60% Lopez, 40% Gray, 25% Javier, 3% Logue, no Montgomery.
Okay.
Hitting is just like straight Astros, followed by Yankees.
You took a little bit less than me in the Skubal Lopez piece to bump up Gray. That's our major difference there. So you're all Astros. I'm heavy Yanks. I'm
heavy there too.
34% exposure to the Yankees for me.
Okay, my highest owned Yankee is Judge at 30%. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Astros ahead of that.
Okay, so my highest exposed Yankee is Judge at 53.
Please tell me Eric Haas is in the Tigers lineup. All right, good.
Is he? He is?
Yeah.
Should we read that off, I guess? Do you have it in front of you?
Green, Baez, Grossman, Haas, Scope, Castro, Clemens, Candelario, Short.
Oh, so I got to get Miggy out of there. Great.
So I have 8% of him. He needs to become...
Shit, I really should have tried to do that, considering both of these are about to lock in 20 seconds.
I mean, Miggy just becomes Cody Clemens.
I'm going to see if I can do that quickly on my phone before the timer hits.
That doesn't lock until 3:37.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Well, either way, that swap is done. I think I have to make one more too. But
no.
What?
At least only at 2%. I didn't realize the Rangers game locked at 110. I have Charlie Culberson in, and he's not playing.
So do I. Do you get scratched?
I don't know. I don't know if I don't know if the Rangers lineup had updated, but I would guess so because we use different base sources, I think.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, I have him too, but I have only 2 lineups with him. So
yeah, I have 2%.
So I have all ton of Yankees. I have 34% aggregate Yankees, 24% Tigers.
If you have Harold Castro, you need to get him out too.
I can't get anybody out of anything now.
Tigers.
Oh, got it. Harold Castro?
Yeah, he also becomes Clemens.
I don't have
What-
Harold
what are you
Castro.
on? Oh, okay.
I have Willie Castro.
Yeah, he's playing.
So many Castros.
Oh, cool. He can become Candelario also.
So it's basically just I'm a little lighter on the Astros and Marlins in the aggregate to give it all to the Yankees. So go Yanks. Unstacked, I got to 10 5-man Yankee stacks. That'll be fun.
Yeah, I say that seems like it makes sense.
Timothy Beechler says Culberson was out like 40 minutes ago. Makes
Yeah,
sense.
we've
40
been on a show for an hour and change.
Yeah.
I knew he
didn't
was
see the
out.
alert.
I knew he
I
was
did-
out. I just didn't realize that game locked at 110. I thought I was gonna have time to swap it after the show.
I don't even see it in like my MLB DFS Twitter column. It's like I never saw the alert that Culberson, like normally I see, Culberson out and then updated lineup. I never saw updated lineup, and or I never saw Culberson out anywhere.
Do you have Victor Reyes? Because he's also out.
Do I have Victor Reyes? I do.
The easy swap is Grossman, where they're not in the same lineup.
Okay. Let's just do that now, and then we can get the hell out of here. All right, so I swapped to Grossman. Do you know if there's another swap if there's not?
Willie Castro. Or where you have money left. I mean, you could also swap up to Riley Green. But
Let's test it. Oh, no, you can't even do that from the app if you wanted to.
right, yeah, you have to download the CSV and do it.
Yeah, I'll go do a couple of these manually. I'm going to have to anyway. Well, guys, we made it. Adam, I didn't think we were going to make it through an hour and 10 minutes of this bad boy. That's for sure. However, we did. An hour and 10 minutes down. Time to go sweat some baseball. Let's
Time to
DJ
go back to
LeMahieu
sleep.
lead off walk coming first. Here we go. 2x on him. It was fun, man. It was fun.
Yeah. for
Tyler,
sure.
thanks for producing. Thanks to PrizePicks for being the sponsor of this show. Back to normal tomorrow, but watch the MMA strategy show coming up at 1:30 and MLB Live before lock later tonight at 6 p.m. Peace.